It began on a cloudy Tuesday morning, the kind of morning that carries no promise, no thunder, no spark, just grayness. Outside, the streets buzzed with routine, but inside courtroom 6A, something extraordinary was about to unfold. At the witness stand stood a man who didn't belong in the chaos of modern headlines. 83 years old, a former school principal, a grandfather of 6, a widower for over a decade. His suit was slightly too big, hanging on a frame that time had hollowed. His hands, veined and shaking, clutched a worn leather folder filled with papers. Evidence, letters, memories. He had come to speak about his son, a man incarcerated for a crime many believed he hadn't committed, a son who had spent 7 years behind bars without a single day in court until now. This moment was all the father had left. As he began to speak, his voice cracked, fragile, like an old violin bow scratching against memory. "I am not here to argue law," he said. "I am here as a father who believes that the truth is being buried under silence." The courtroom was still, but the silence didn't last. It started with a cough, then a smirk, a stifled giggle from someone in the back row. A young man leaned to his friend and whispered, "He's going to cry," and he did. The old man tried to hold it in, but grief and injustice are heavy, and when carried alone, they leak. Tears streaked his face as he continued, choking out sentences between apologies. "I'm sorry. I didn't come here to break down. I just want someone to listen." But instead of compassion, there was a ripple of soft laughter. Another whisper, "Why is he making this about himself?" A courtroom clerk looked away, pretending not to hear. The prosecutor, clearly annoyed, tapped her pen impatiently. And the judge didn't stop them. The laughter grew, not loud but sharp. Not cruel but dismissive, the kind of laughter that says, "We're done with your pain." It echoed like a warning. This space isn't for weakness. And then, from the third row in the public seating section, someone stood up. No words, no outburst, just stillness. Heads turned. Whispers ceased. It was Michelle Obama. In a charcoal gray suit, her expression unreadable, her presence undeniable. She had been sitting quietly, anonymous, almost invisible until now. But now everyone saw her. The laughter died mid-breath. And for a moment, even time seemed to hold its breath, because something was about to happen. And every person in that room could feel it. Michelle didn't raise her voice. She didn't pound the table. She simply walked forward, one slow step at a time. No security, no entourage, just purpose in every movement. Every eye was on her. The laughter had vanished. The judge shifted slightly in his chair, unsure of what to say. Michelle reached the front of the room and stood beside the old man. She placed a hand gently on the railing, not to lean, but to anchor what was about to come. Her voice was steady, low, unwavering. "I was invited here today as an observer, but I cannot remain silent when silence becomes a weapon." A breathless hush spread across the courtroom. We just watched a father break in front of us, and instead of listening, we laughed. She turned slowly, facing the gallery. We didn't laugh because he was wrong. We laughed because it was easier than facing what his tears meant. Because if we truly heard him, we might have to change something. She took another step. "I know what it's like to be judged, to be reduced to a symbol instead of a human being. I know what it's like to sit in a room full of power and be told I don't belong." The words hung in the air like a confession, but I also know the strength it takes to stand up anyway, to speak, even when your voice shakes, to cry, and still keep speaking. The judge opened his mouth slightly, then closed it. Michelle turned back toward the old man. "This man is not a distraction. He is not wasting our time. He is a mirror, and we didn't like what we saw." Now her voice rose, just enough to resonate in every corner of the room. "This courtroom claims to stand for justice. But what is justice without empathy? What is order without humanity?" She paused, eyes locked with the judge's. "You can't uphold the law if you forget the people it's supposed to protect." A murmur rose in the gallery, a shift. Some crossed their arms, others uncrossed them, some lowered their eyes in shame. Michelle took a final step forward. "Today we laughed at a man who cried for his son. Tomorrow, it could be your son. And when that day comes, will you want the world to laugh?" Silence, solid, heavy, real. The courtroom remained still. No one spoke. The old man lowered his head, not from shame, but from something that felt strangely like relief. Michelle returned to her seat, calm, composed, but forever changed, just like everyone else in the room. The judge cleared his throat, his voice thinner now. "Let the record show," he paused, swallowed, then continued, "that the testimony will stand, and the court will reconvene after a brief recess." He stood and walked out, quickly. The gallery didn't erupt. No applause, no cheers, just silence, the kind of silence that lingers when something important just happened. That evening, a young intern uploaded the courtroom footage to social media. A few hundred views turned into thousands. In 2 hours, millions. The hashtag number "she stood" trended in over 40 countries. News anchors quoted her. School teachers printed her words. Students in law school discussed the Obama doctrine of dignity. The father's story became more than testimony. It became movement. And justice? Justice was no longer an idea. It was now a name, a face, a memory of a woman who didn't shout, but was still heard. Lawmakers cited the moment in committee meetings. 2 judges in different states reversed decisions on similar cases. A congressional candidate quoted her in their opening debate because she reminded people that compassion is not a weakness. It is the spine of everything we hope to build. The man's son, his case was reopened. New evidence, ignored before, was reconsidered, and one day he walked out of prison free, not because the system worked, but because someone stood up and said it wasn't. And here's the thing about that moment. Michelle Obama didn't plan to speak that day. She didn't show up to inspire anyone. She didn't rehearse a monologue. She just listened, and when the laughter echoed, she decided not to be part of it, so she stood. Because sometimes that's all it takes. One person, one breath, one voice. And in that courtroom on that ordinary Tuesday, the world learned that courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it simply rises and looks injustice in the eye. If this story moved you, don't let it end here. Share it. Let others remember what empathy looks like. Leave a comment below. Have you ever witnessed injustice and wished someone had stood up? Or maybe, were you the one who did? Tell us your story, and if you believe that one voice can still make a difference, subscribe to this channel. Because the world doesn't just need more noise, it needs more people who are willing to stand. And remember, a voice can be a spark. A spark can start a transformation. Your voice can be someone else's courage. Today you watched. Maybe tomorrow you will stand up. And when that moment comes, we will be listening to you.